butterflies. And it made me think, I don't think I've done like a proper like butterfly nature journal spread in a while. So yeah, let's look at some butterflies. Why not? That'll be really fun. It took me a minute to find like a good reference though. I don't have like a butterfly book here. I usually borrow them from my bug friends. What I did find was this site here, which is a butterfly farm actually, but they had this nice like list with photos of Kansas butterflies, which were, again, I'm sorry, I'm interested in doing my local native species. At some point, maybe the inspiration will be to look at other regions' stuff, but yeah, that's what I wanted to do today. So I, found this list, and I really want to take a look at making some comparisons with these different butterflies. So that's what we're going to do. Got a pencil. I got some watercolors because I think the colors of these butterflies is important to try to capture, and that sounds like a fun addition. So I've just got like a watercolor nature journal here, notebook. I've used this before in the stream for some little spreads. Got a pencil, got everything I need, I guess, except my pencil looks kind of dull, but we'll make it work. Okay. Let's see. Ooh, should I get some background music? 1 second. Okay. Now, the exciting thing about doing this is figuring out which butterflies I actually want to do. And immediately, like, okay, so my first original idea was doing some of these orange butterflies, like the fritillaries. There's this Gulf fritillary over here, which is just so beautiful. Because that's the only fritillary they have on this list, huh? But yeah, there's a lot of orange butterflies. I love this red admiral, though. That, like, immediately caught my eye. They're so pretty, and they're so distinctive that I think it's a really good one to pull out. Let's listen to some music for bugs. Okay. Butterflies. Today is August, golly, 13. And a lot of these butterflies on this list are going to be really common butterflies seen like throughout the prairie regions of the Great Plains. So, you know, good little guys to keep an eye out for if you're living in that region. Oh, look at the American snout. It's got a snout. That's such a fun butterfly. I also really like the skippers because they just have these big fuzzy heads and these big eyeballs. It's so fun. Yeah, okay. I think I want to start with that red admiral, though. So we're going to look this guy up. I wonder if I can make it a little larger. Sure, that's a little bit better. Can I make it larger? Yeah. Nice. Okay, yeah, let's sketch this little guy. I'm definitely going to start with the body of the butterfly. Which, when you pay attention to the bodies of these different butterflies, it's, I don't know, it surprises me every time, even though it definitely shouldn't, just how different even their little body shapes can be. cute, and it's got a funny little head, a little snout coming off the top. Not as much as the American snout, but still a good snout. And then these nice antennae. Hello! Thanks for liking the stream, Hope. Okay. Now the important thing, the wings. Let's see, it looks like the bottom of this hind wing comes off like maybe this far. And then I'm gonna mark where I think this like little indention is. So I think it's gonna come, it's like straight out from the body. So let's go like right here on each side. Maybe a little bit longer than that, huh? And then the wings, they start like further back here on the body, but they come out like up and over a little bit out to like here. Fun. Okay. And then we're gonna curve that out and just connect the dots. I think it's my favorite way of mapping out shapes of animals, especially if they're ones I haven't drawn a lot before. Just to sort of play like a little game of connect the dots. Like, okay, this is where I think it's gonna end up. And then it's a little bit easier to fix perspective issues than if you're, you know, fully sketching it out. You can kind of look at the dot matrix you've ended up with and say, oh, that's not right. And just erase one dot instead of every line that you've already drawn. Okay, the hind wings overlap a lot with these front wings. And they come all the way up there. That's so cool. And then they're gonna come down like this. And it's kind of, let's see, I maybe came down a little too far, I'm noticing. It does have like these really subtle like scalloped edges that I haven't done super like religiously over here. Nice. That'll work. Again, we're nature journaling this morning, which means that my primary goal isn't necessarily to like exercise the most perfect expression of art or anything like that. It's to make observations about the natural world, in this case butterflies. And hey, thank you, Evan. Welcome. And since our goal is just to make observations, we're accomplishing that, no matter how good or scribbly or whatever our art turns out to be. I know I spend a lot of time doing art on nature journal streams. I think that's because, you know, while there are a lot of really good prompts that we could be doing for like a more writing based nature journal, that's not really a great stream. So, you know, I will totally encourage those of you who are interested in working on a nature journal and starting your own nature journal, definitely look up some prompts like that. I know you can find books on nature journaling at the library and things like that you could check out if you're looking for inspiration. There's plenty of blogs and even nature journal clubs on Facebook. I used to run the nature journal club in Wichita, but that would be a potentially fun thing to start up again. It's not active at the moment. But there are Facebook groups you can find that have a lot of those prompt ideas. And yeah, I would encourage you to check them out for sure. Just another little note about nature journaling. There's a lot of other really fun activities we could do that are much more suited to just being outside and doing. There's a few that I've had my eye on for a while, but I'm sort of waiting for the opportunity when I can go outside and feel like I can reliably stream from an outdoor location somewhere. Maybe rope a couple people into going out with me. That would be super, super fun, but that's, a much more appropriate setting for some of the other prompts. Like there's a really fun one where you just take like a string or a loop or a grid or something and lay it down, and then you document everything that's inside the grid. Like that's so fun, but I can't do that from inside my house. Okay, that'll work. This is the Red Admiral. You know what would be fun to add to this nature journal is information about the host species of this, or any of these butterflies. I don't even know what the host species for a Red Admiral is. Let me search for it real quick. Plants in the nettle family. Interesting. Okay. All members of the nettles family. So that's really, really broad. How cool. I think it'd be cool to add a little sketch of something. Like a little indicator of the host plant next to the butterfly. Let's think of a nettle that's I guess there's horse nettle in Kansas. Yeah, we can do this little Carolina horse nettle. It's very nightshady. Is it a nightshade or is it nettle? Oh my goodness, guys, I don't know. We're learning stuff. I mean, yeah, it's in the nightshade family. What is the nettle family? Oh, wait. Yes, it's not a true nettle. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What's in the nettle family? Urticaceae. Let's see. There's gotta be just a ton of examples of this species in Kansas. Just because red admirals are everywhere, so they're obviously finding something. I guess we have stinging nettle in Kansas. Canadian wood nettle? What is that? Weird. Okay, here, let me just post this in here. This is the stinging nettle. I've definitely seen this before. This is from Riley County up by Kansa Prairie. Okay, interesting. Sure. Yeah, let's sketch a little nettle leaf, I guess. it's got like a really sharp little dip right next to the stem where the leaves attach. Hang on. Let's make this better. Cute! Wow, this is kind of fun. Because we're learning about plants and butterflies. That's why it's so fun. Okay. It's 2 interests that I have combined into one. How neat. I love nature journaling. And I'm gonna give it one of these little like fluffy little flowers on a string. I don't know if this would be considered a catkin, but it's very catkin shaped, you know, like those little fluffy dangling reproductive parts you see on birch trees and things like that. Nettles. I guess we could also draw the caterpillar, but I kind of don't feel like doing that right now. I'd rather draw other butterflies. Cool. Okay. Let's go ahead and just throw some color down on this butterfly. I'm gonna wet my palette here. I don't really need too many of these colors, but I'll get them all wet just in case. I'm using a giant brush, but it's got a nice like sharp point on it, so. Okay, so this orange is a really vibrant, almost reddish orange. So I'm not gonna mix it in any like neutral tones. I'm gonna stick with really bright tones. I think what I'm gonna do is take this Indian yellow, which is already very orangey, and I'm gonna mix in this true red, just to bring a little bit more warmth into it. That looks really nice. It is called a red admiral, so it is quite red. Okay, I like that a lot. Let's drop that in. I'm using watercolors. I'll always encourage you guys to just use whatever you're comfortable with. Watercolors are like my comfort go-to method of dropping color on stuff. I have watercolor paper, I have watercolors, so that's my preference, and whenever you're journaling, you should do whatever your preference is. Oh no, I got too far. That's fine. Aw, you're so welcome. I'm glad that you're enjoying the stream. That makes me really happy to hear, Kiwi, because it's like, I don't know, one of the reasons why I wanted to do the nature journaling, like obviously sharing the journaling itself is something that I love, but you know, it's kind of a nice way to start the day and just having like some chill vibes, just relaxing, just starting the day right. I'm still drinking my coffee too. Just waking up. It's nice to set the tone for the day by doing art and just looking at nature. Okay. So the one tricky thing about watercolors is that I now have to let this dry. Here, I'm going to add a little bit more red in here. It'll sort of, it's still so wet that, you know, if you like were to tilt the page, you could see how shiny it is. Can you? Hang on. There it is. See how shiny that is? So that's how I know that it's still wet enough that I can add more colors in. I think I've done a bad job of explaining that in the past. If it was so dry that it was starting to be matte, then I wouldn't touch it anymore unless I was trying to pull pigment off the page, just because it would potentially mess up the colors. But while it's like that shiny wet, you can really like move the colors around and add new stuff, and it'll blend out really nicely. Okay. I'm gonna try to swipe a little bit of this off at the end. If you clean your brush off and then, you know, dry it as much as you can, the brush becomes very absorbent, because that's what watercolor brushes are designed to do. And you can sort of pull spots of paint you didn't want off the page a little bit. Although it's so wet, it's just seeping in there. That's okay. All right, I need to stop messing with it. So that's like the most vibrant color on here. I am noticing that, and this is like obviously, or sorry, much more obvious in person too. If you see one of these butterflies outside, I know whenever I see them, I'm really stricken by how black the tips of the wing are. It might be harder to notice that in this reference, but if you're looking carefully, the center of the butterfly, the body, the center of those wings is really warm and brown. And then the tips of the wing are almost like a cool black. It looks so different. So I want to make sure I capture that when I'm painting this little guy. While the red is drying, because I can't touch it, excuse me, I'm gonna just throw some color on this nettle. Let's see, what color was it? It was sort of like a dusty green, if I remember correctly. Oh no, I think my mouse has died. Oh no, there it goes. There it is. Yeah, it's like really sagey. Ooh, I almost stuck my watercolor brush in my coffee. I guess that's a thing you can do. I've seen people like paint with like coffee and tea. Okay, since it's so light, I'm gonna add a lot of water. I'm kind of mixing like a bluish gray color on the side over here where you can't see it. But yeah, I'm gonna use lots of water so that it's nice and light colored. It'll dry a lot lighter than this looks. Cute. And then these little catkins. I'm calling them that. Please don't come at me. I don't think that they're actually catkins, but they look like catkins. They remind me of catkins, which is an important observation to make when you're journaling. What does it remind you of? Building memories of these things that we see in nature. Memories in your muscles too from drawing it. I don't know, I've always been the sort of person that found it a lot easier to remember things or like learn and retain information if I was able to write it down in like, I don't know, notes, like a study guide or like something like with an actual pen and paper. And I remember in school, I a lot of the time would study by like sketching out and diagramming out different things, because that just helped. That's how my brain likes to remember things. So I love nature journaling for that reason too. It's like a built-in way for my brain to retain information and to get really close to nature. Kiwi says, "Yum paint water, good for the system." I mean, actually don't. I'm gonna joke, but please don't drink paint water. It's definitely full of heavy metals that are very toxic for you. But maybe you're deficient in these really heavy metals. Who knows? Maybe it would be good for your system. That's a joke. That is a joke. Please don't drink paint water. I haven't sipped the forbidden rainbow water. I've somehow managed to not actually do that. I have, okay, this is embarrassing, but I have when I do digital art. Oh my gosh, you guys. When I have done digital art before, I don't remember why, but like my wires got crossed. It must have been really early in the morning or something, and I was using a Wacom tablet, so I had like a tablet pen, and I dipped my tablet pen in my coffee. Like, I fully just like bloop. And there's literally no reason in my brain that I should have done that. There's like, I wasn't painting. I don't know why my brain did that. But anyway, I did have to like take it apart and clean it out because it was full of coffee. Okay, what butterfly am I going to do next? I'm going to move on to sketching a different butterfly because that's so wet and I don't feel like pulling out my hairdryer. Yeah, I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people. I've also had to like throw out my own drinking water and my own coffee for dipping paintbrushes in it before. It's terrible. I really want to do this skipper because I think it's cute, so that's what I'm going to do. Oh, look at how big its little eye is. They're so sweet. Also, I think skippers are fun because they are a butterfly whose host plants are grasses. They lay their eggs on grasses. And they're all over some of the pollinator-friendly plants I have in my yard because, you know, there's lots of grass around in lawns, and they're little cute guys, and they just flutter around, and they drink all the nectar, and then they go lay their eggs in the grass. Isn't that so cute? As a Grassland Groupie, I have a soft spot for grasses. What can I say? I just love how fuzzy they are. One of the things that makes skippers really different is that they hold their wings in this like almost moth-like way. You see how it like, I don't know, if you saw this butterfly without knowing that it was a butterfly, it would be so easy to say like, oh wow, look at this little moth. It's so cute. It's very moth-like. And you know, instead of like holding its wings open and closing them, it has this like little tent almost of wings on the back. But if you look at its antennae, it has these little like butterfly antennae with the knob on the end. Oh, and look in this illustration, in this photo, it's got its little tongue out. It's like hidden behind the antenna, but you can see it going like whoop down there. So I'm gonna use some artistic license and make it visible up here, like whoop. That's so cute. And it goes between the legs. Okay, wait, focus. I need to get back to drawing this. Let's see. This wing attaches here. And we're gonna make this like little wing looks a little smaller. I don't think I left myself enough room. I made the head so big. But that's okay because its head is big and it's cute. Is it okay? Wait, here, let's do this. Aww. Pokemon shaped. It actually kind of is. It reminds me, okay, there's God, what is that thing called? There's a little Pokemon that looks like a bee fly. I love them so much. I have to look it up every time because I forget what the Pokemon is called because all I can think of is bee flies. Cutie Fly! That's the name of the Pokemon. How could I forget that? This skipper is also kind of cutie fly shaped. It's the head and the fuzziness. Yeah, cutie fly coated. Thank you. I don't know if that comment came in before I realized it, but yes, thank you. This is... Hold on, what is happening? Guys, I'm getting so distracted that I'm doing a terrible job of making observations here. I should start over. Wait, no. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to use pencils when I'm sketching, because I'll just keep erasing until it looks right. When that's not the point. The point is to just make good observations. Okay, here. This back makes a little triangle. And then its little butt comes out here. Like this. And, gosh, I feel like it's shorter than that. Huh, it kind of comes down to here. So, let's give this little fellow a wing there. There's a lot going on with the wing anatomy here that I think is difficult to see what's going on. Like, you can see the back wing here. Obviously there's this long wing coming out, but then you can see like the under wing, like the hind wing, kind of making a little tent shape right here. Do you see that? So then my brain is like, what's going on here? Guess we have to make a little butterfly tent. Where can you buy your own butterfly tent? I'll encourage you to plant a native garden in your backyard, and then you can go outside and appreciate and enjoy all the little skippers making their own butterfly tents on your flowers. Oh. I'm gonna give him a little fuzzy body with some little fuzzy legs. What a little dorky butterfly. They don't look like what you expect a butterfly to look like. Kiwi says, on the sketching with pencil comment, I feel you. I find just using an ink pen to be helpful sometimes and making me commit to my lines. Yes! I feel like I'm always saying that, like, my go-to sketching utensil is pens because I like being forced to commit to my lines. It also, I think that one of the reasons why that is that, like, knowing I can't erase it makes me be so much more conscientious of what I'm doing. Like, I pay more attention and I have to be more intentional with where I'm putting things. And then there's also the aspect of, like, obviously, oh, now I have to just accept whatever mistake I've made, and that's kind of therapeutic in a way. The reason I unfortunately decided to do pencil this morning instead of pen is because I knew I was going to throw watercolor on top of it, and not all of my pens are like water fast. So if I sketched with pen, there's a good chance it would kind of blur out. I do have some pens that are water fast. I just don't remember which ones they are, to be honest. Usually when I do watercolors, what I'll do is like, if I want there to be like a pen outline, I will add it last on top of the watercolors. That way I'm not trying to color in the lines. I can just pretend like I did by adding the lines last. It's kind of nice. Okay, that's a good enough sketch we've got this little butterfly. He's got some little legs on this little flower. That'll work. I think I'm ready to add some colors to him. And here I go. I immediately went back on that and started erasing his wing. Hang on. Nice. Okay. Oh, all right. Happy. This one, let's see. I don't remember if it had a species name. I hope that it did. Oh yeah, it's a fiery skipper. Oh, that's cool. I am very bad about identifying the different skipper species. I don't know that I could recognize a single species. It's definitely a blind spot for me. I can always recognize the group. I can say, oh, it is a skipper. But yeah. Hello, Lemon. Welcome to the stream. We're doing butterflies. Okay, the fiery skipper uses grasses, so let's just pick a grass. Wait, I wonder if the fiery skipper specifically has a host plant species. Let's look it up. This is extra nerdy of me. Bermuda grass. Is that why I have so many? I have so much Bermuda grass in my yard. Oh, that's so interesting. That almost makes me not hate Bermuda grass. Almost. Like, at least the skippers can use it. That's so nice. I mean, it says they feed on a lot of different grasses. So there's a lot of grasses they can use. I'm certain that obviously they were using at one point. Here, I'll show you this, what I'm using right here to find it. This is an Alabama government website. Look how freaking cute this butterfly is, you guys. I just can't handle it. Look at its little knobby antenna. It's so fluffy. Ah, I made him too long. Look at how cute and short he is. Okay, sorry. No, focus. Where was I seeing the caterpillar? Okay. Fiery skippers are the poster children for an adaptable generalist lifestyle. Yeah, it's because they can feed on so many grasses. Let's see. Nectar plants. What about host plants? Okay, host plants. Nutsedge and Bermuda grasses from Alabama. Interesting. I have a moral quandary with drawing Bermuda grass, but I will do it for this skipper. I will do it, and maybe I will learn to appreciate it, or to at least not totally hate the fact that Bermuda grass exists. It's just so weedy and terrible. Nasty. It gets all up in my flower beds. Gosh, you can't even tell that that's a grass. Perfect. I'm gonna document my learning and my feelings by writing Bermuda grass, and then I'm gonna make an astonished, disconcerted face. Oh, it's hidden. Sorry. Royalty looking moths. They're so good. Oh, the giant pink and yellow moths. Are you talking about the tiger moths? Because those are so pretty. Every time Okay. Have you guys heard of sky fishing? Because you can like look for moths at night and like put up a white sheet and put like bright lights on it, and then you get a bunch of moths to fly in, and you can be like, ooh, look at all these moths. Anyway, those yellow and pink ones that look kind of like Trix yogurt from back in the day. I don't know if that's a thing that exists anymore. I might have just aged myself. But those things, whenever they show up, are so fun. It's like always amazing because they look like something that should be so exotic, and it's like, wow, that was just hanging out here where I live. My pencil is very dull. All right, let me paint the skipper. He's got a lot of yellows. Hold on, I gotta clean up my palette. I'm bad about cleaning up my palette because honestly I feel like sometimes the fact that my colors mix together like it sure creates a muddy palette, and I think for some watercolor artists that's like a pet peeve or like something that they like notice and makes them clutch their pearls. But I think it kind of makes the colors I'm using turn out more organic because it's like, I don't know, kind of like mixed up a little bit. I like it. Oh no, Google is betraying us. Apparently it's not giving good results for sky fishing. Ooh, do you guys want to see a magic trick? Okay, look at this poopy green color. This is azo green. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. If I combine azo green, which looks like this like vomit yellow color, with Indian yellow, it turns into regular yellow. Isn't that neat? Look, it's regular yellow. I love this palette so much. It's really fun. I also have this like really vibrant lemon yellow, which I got because I was like, sometimes you just need it to be like the most lemony yellow possible, and that's kind of nice to just have. But technically don't need it. You can just mix colors in a surprising way. What I'm going to do is just drop some of these colors on here and then kind of mix them on the page almost by going back and finding some more orangey colors and then lifting some of this pigment off where I want it to be lighter. Okay, let's see. I'm going to add more of this like Indian yellow, this like orangey yellow. Because it's kind of orangey in some spots right here. Cool, we'll just add it in, let it mix up and look nice. Again, I'm doing that like, I'm trying to do a better job of describing this, but if you tilt the page, you can see how like shiny that is. If it's still shiny, then it's wet enough to add paint to. And push it around and mess around with it. Okay, I'm rinsing my brush off and I'm drying it off mostly. And then I'm going to come back in where it's supposed to be light, like on the butt here. And I'm going to remove some of the color. So yeah, this like mostly dry watercolor brush is thirsty and it's going to pick up so much water. So I can make some of these spots a little bit lighter. And it will probably dry a little bit lighter as well, but yeah. Maybe on the edge. It's kind of light on the edge. You can also sort of lift paint off when it's dry, but it's a little harder. Like, I prefer starting it off this way because it's, I think, a little easier to have it blend in. If I was to lift it off, it would be like a harsh line. When it was dry, if I lifted it off when it was dry, it would be a harsh line. But this way, it can sort of blend out a little bit more. Okay, I think I'm at a point where I should stop messing with it. Just a little more messing. Just a little more. Just one more. Okay, I'm done. Ooh, Kiwi says, I love how big this little guy's eyes are. This looks like a butterfly a child would have treasured a plushie of. You're so right. It just looks like a friend. Which, if you kind of think about it, I think all butterflies are friend-shaped. That's one of the nice, I don't know, they're a gateway bug, you know? They're a gateway bug for people, especially kids. It's hard to be upset about a butterfly. I have known people who were like afraid of butterflies. And I have a theory that with like animals, I always ask people like, okay, like what about them like freaks you out the most? It's always the way that they move. Like, oh, birds, they just like can, like the way that they fly and like hop around is just like unsettling. Or like spiders, the way that they like dart forward and like run and scurry, it's like really unsettling and scary and unpredictable. Grasshoppers, they just like spring around and it's terrifying. And butterflies, the people I've asked who are afraid of butterflies, they also don't like the way that they flutter around. Oh, Kiwi has 2 friends who are deathly afraid of butterflies, but also all bugs. Yeah, that's fair. Bugs are just sort of alien, aren't they? I'm gonna give him a little dark eye because he's cute and he needs a little dark eye. I just grabbed straight up Payne's Gray from my palette. I'm not even mixing, I'm just dropping it on there. I know I always say that like, oh yeah, you can do whatever medium you like, and I definitely mean that. But since I'm doing watercolors, I think it's nice to like, I think it's nice to explain like what I'm doing and my thought process behind it in case other people are interested in that. But it's butter. There's currently an argument going on in the comments about butterflies and bugs that are scary. I love it. Okay, we've got that. I'm gonna paint this stupid Bermuda grass. I'm gonna be mad about it, but I'll do it. I like how I keep going back and forth on like, wow, a reason to not just hate Bermuda grass. Like, at least I can appreciate its existence if it has to exist. And then immediately I'm like, ew, but I hate Bermuda grass. I don't know if that even helped it look like grass to have it, like, green. And obviously, well, it's obvious to me, but in case it's not obvious to anybody on the stream here, I'm drawing their host plant, which is not, it can be, but is not necessarily the same thing as what they would feed off of. So like a nectaring plant would be the sort of plant that they are visiting the flowers in order to drink the nectar, whereas a host plant is where they will lay their eggs because their caterpillars need it to feed on. Excuse me. So the butterfly relies on this plant's existence because its babies need to grow up on the plant, which I don't know, that seems like obvious to me, but I did meet somebody, or I know somebody who had like a whole conversation with someone about how they planted milkweed for the butterflies, but these caterpillars kept eating it. And so I think that it is important to like just have that like explicit discussion of like, yeah, sometimes the way that these butterfly friendly plants function is to be eaten, and that's okay. I currently have some monster sunflowers in my backyard, and they are just being eaten up. But you know, the plants are surviving. They look really bad, but they're surviving, and they're flowering anyway. And I'm not pulling the caterpillars off because I know that those are little cycnia moth caterpillars, and they're really cute, and I don't want to hurt them. And they're just doing cute caterpillar things. That's like what they do. Yeah. So just good to keep in mind. It's okay sometimes if bugs eat your plants. I'm putting that caveat on there because I know vegetable gardeners who would clutch their pearls at the mere suggestion that all bugs can eat their plants. And that's not what I mean. Calm down. It's okay. You can squish the squash moths. Or the squash borer vine? I forget their name. All I know is the smell, which will never leave me, of vines rotting out because the larvae are eating the squash. Yeah, I was like, astonishment, bewilderment, Bermuda grass. How is it already past 9? I've barely done anything. Just having a good time, guys. You can barely tell that that's Bermuda grass, but that's okay. My heart knows, and my heart hates it, and also I labeled it, so that's what matters. Oh no, what have I done? Okay, these are dry. Okay, just another like little watercolor explanation that I think I've been bad about before. I pointed out that when it's shiny wet, that's how you can tell that it's okay to add more pigment and stuff. When it's matte, but you can still tell that it's wet, like this is definitely still wet, but it's not shiny anymore. That is still not something you should touch, because if you touch it right now, it's going to be like blah, and it's going to mess everything up. And so I did not like touch the paint with this little addition I added. I was really careful to like not go right up against it. So the way that you know that it is ready to touch and that it is ready to paint next to it, or add more layers on top, is if you touch it with the back of your hand. So at this point, if you touch it with the back of your hand and you feel, okay, this is not colder than the rest of the page, it's good, it's dry. Woo! Let's paint some butterflies. Oh, I should pull up the reference. I'm going to grab sepia, and I'm going to add it to this really reddish part of my palette because I want it to be reddish. So, whoa, how convenient. I'm going to add a little bit of rust iron oxide. As like a general rule, I like to usually not just pull color straight off of the palette unless, I mean, occasionally that makes sense and is appropriate, but I find that I feel like my painting looks more real and more natural if I try to mix colors at least a little bit. Cool, we're gonna just paint this whole butterfly's body. Woo! Except for the tips of the wing, which we're gonna do really cool toned black. And I don't do black on my watercolor palette. Like, I will not paint with black. I just think it's more interesting to use other colors. Because, like, very rarely is anything ever, like, pure black. You know what I mean? It's always got, it's kind of like how you can't paint white. like maybe there's a couple of spots where it makes sense to have like a pure white shine or something like that. But for the most part, like, you're never going to see actual white. White is always like a little bit the color of the room or the color of the light. It's always got something else going on with it. And the same is true for black. Most of the time. So what we're going to do is mix a black that's basically just going to be like a really, really dark gray that's maybe more on the cool tone side so that it really contrasts with this butterfly. Okay, does this feel like we got the shape of the butterfly? Not really. So, okay, we've got this laid down. It is all still shiny wet, so at this point I can play around with the colors. I'm going to move it a little bit to the side so that the glare isn't as bad, but you can still see like how wet it is, right? So what I'm going to do is get more of this sepia, this pure sepia, because that's going to be super dark. I'm going to add that to some parts of the wing here to give it some more shape. On the front wings here. I'm going to do it around the body to sort of create like a shadow or something. See, I don't know if you can tell. I'll move my hand out of the way. You can see how it's like sort of dropping in the darker color. And then it'll kind of blend out and end up looking really soft, which is perfect for shading. So it's going to end up giving our butterfly a lot of dimension, which is fun. And then what I would probably do if I was like making a for real painting is either, depending on the style, go back and like add outlines to define the edges, or just paint some sharp edges after this whole thing is dried. I've totally been missing out on you guys' comments. I'm so sorry. Hang on, give me 1 second. Oh, look. Okay. Alright, let me dry my brush off. Oh, Kiwi says, the paint mixing is so neat to see. I never was a watercolor painter. Back when I used to paint, I liked using acrylic, but it is cool / fun / neat and good to mix different paints together. It's so neat to see it in other mediums. Yeah, like you can always tell, I feel like, if somebody's using paint straight out of the tube, and it can be really nice and it can be like a really fun style, and there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's not always the style that you want to go for. And I think for me, I think it looks really nice when I'm not using colors straight out of the tube. I'm gonna give him little bloop, 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 little dots on the top of his head. Oh gosh, oh, that was so stressful. I'm gonna do this other one. Ooh. Oh gosh. Okay, whew. Great. And then I'm gonna, let's see, I didn't map out where these spots go. Maybe that would be worth doing before I start painting, because with watercolor you do have to be a little, you know, careful about where you paint or don't paint in order to preserve white. Spot there. Spot there. I'm gonna make it bigger than it feels like it needs to be. And then the main thing is they have this really big wedge of white right here. And again, if you see this outside, it's like so noticeable, like you immediately recognize it. It's like, wow, there's nothing else like this out here. Oh, this is so dangerous, erasing right next to wet paint. Ooh, okay. I need to stop making. Okay, I think I understand now. I think I know where I need to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and instead of the color I was using before, I'm gonna grab this Payne's Gray, which is already like a more cool toned neutral. I'm gonna mix it on the cool side of my palette, so it's picking up residual cool toned colors. I'm gonna add some of this Prussian blue, which is one of my most used colors on my palette, I think. I just love it so much. And that looks really, really good. I might add a little of this Moon Glow too, which is like a purpley neutral. One of my favorite neutrals on the palette, honestly. Again, if anybody is ever like interested in knowing what palette I use, I'm happy to share. The base of this palette I got from Mind of Watercolor on YouTube. I love his videos. He's one of the reasons I started picking up watercolors again, because like watching him work with the paint really like made me appreciate the medium and like see like how much potential it had. And I don't know, it was just really fun to watch him paint and to see how like his mind worked and stuff. And this is his minimalist 8-color watercolor palette. So 8 of the colors on here at least are from that, and I love them. I love them so much. I think if you just search for Mind of Watercolor palette, you would find that video. I also obviously have some other colors on here that I've picked up along the way. But yeah, if you want a full list, just ask. I'd be happy to share. I had this discussion recently with some friends where, you know, I do think it's true with watercolors that like probably the order of importance is paper first. That's been my experience anyway. If I use cruddy watercolor paper, it doesn't feel good to paint and it turns out weird and the colors like don't work right. Like you can use the nicest brushes and the nicest paints and it like will not look right if you're using cruddy watercolor paper. So if you're interested in getting started, you know, find some nice paper that you like. I don't know, read some articles or something, and spend money on paper. And you can just use honestly whatever brush you have laying around that it works for watercolor, and any paints. You could use like student grade paints. It doesn't matter that much, and you'll have a good time. Okay, the shape of these white blobs, not like super accurate to the butterfly itself. I'm gonna reshape a little bit of them, but I honestly don't care that much about it being perfect, so we're gonna probably just end up calling that good enough. Yeah, because like honestly, sorry, going back to what I was saying before, even the fact of like paints mixing well and that sort of thing, I feel like has so much to do with the paper. It's like, does the paper let the pigment move around? Or does the paper just kind of like get stuck in one spot and, you know, like bleed out weird? Like, yes, there's totally certain paints that mix better than others. And like, I think sometimes that paints by the same paint creator mix well with each other or look more consistent anyway, but like that really doesn't matter compared to the paper. Like it doesn't matter how good the paints are it just matters the paper, because good paper will even let cruddy paints move around nicely. And what even is a cruddy watercolor paint? I don't know, it's so subjective. There's different like, ooh, I like this one because it's super grainy, or like, what if you like this one because it's like really not pigmented and you like the way that style looks, or, you know, like that's all very subjective. So you can just do whatever you want. Well, guys, I don't know how I spent like an hour and some change just painting 2 butterflies and some leaves, but that's what I did today. So that's, I guess, as far as I was able to get. I didn't even paint little black marks on my skipper. Maybe I should do that before. I was about to be like, I have to start my day, so I'm gonna leave you guys. But, oh, this little skipper's kind of naked. He does need little spots on his wing. Okay, I'm gonna do that real quick. It's like, yes, what a fun way to start the day. And then you're like, oh man, but my day has to get started. I really should do some like evening streams. That would be really fun. Naked skipper. Here, I'm gonna pull some of this, like, I'm gonna mix these 2 different like darks that we used for the Admiral to make the dark of the skipper wing. And this is why my palette will never be clean, and I'm okay with that. It's a feature, not a bug. Yeah, some little spots along the edges of the wing. Ooh, okay. And yeah, we'll get this nice and dark. Just some little spots. Okay, I'm gonna clean my brush off, get it pretty dry, and then I'm gonna kind of smear around some of the edges of these things that I want to be more blurry. Watercolor is so fun. Really, the main thing that's tricky about watercolor that takes like practice and learning is figuring out how this whole water control thing works. It's like, ooh, when is it too wet? When is it too dry? And a lot of that comes from practice, but I know for me it's also definitely come from like just watching people who are good at it do it, taking classes, and like getting like literal instructors who say like, hey, when it's shiny, that's when you mess with it, and then stop touching it. it's so helpful. Okay, there we go. Now he's less naked and he's more finished. And I'm happy with this fuzzy buzzy little friend. Not Buzzy, sorry, that was bees. My brain went on autopilot and started talking about bees. It's a butterfly. Butterflies are bugs. Butterflies do count as bugs. Like I said, they are a gateway bug to other bugs. You start off thinking, wow, beautiful. What a beautiful creature. And then you say, wow, what a disgusting larval form. But it turns into a butterfly, so now I'm endeared toward it. And then before you know it, you're picking up little grubs and you're like, oh, cute little baby. Blah, 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 blah. And that's how it goes. And soon you're a bug lover. You didn't even know it was possible. Okay, guys. Well, I'm gonna call it a day for now. Thank you so much for joining my stream and just following along with my journey here of looking at a couple of butterflies. I think this means that I'm gonna have to keep filling this page next time until it's just full of butterflies. Like always, if you have any suggestions of things you'd like to see in my nature journal, I would be so happy to take those suggestions. So just let me know. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. I will see you next time. And one final little shout out to the music we've been listening to, which is by Comedy. We were listening to Music for Bugs, very appropriate, by Comedy. And Comedy is an artist who specifically allows content creators and streamers to use the music on their streams. So much appreciated, especially because it feels like really beautiful museum style bug music. Thank you for joining. It was good to see you too. All right, guys.